Really see that in a lot of these answers. And I want to walk our viewers through a little bit of what she said. Let's just take immigration and look at what she said here. She said on immigration, she made this open-ended pledge to end immigrant detention. She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she supported
taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She actually said she supported that.
She both wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this.
The most important and most significant aspect of my policy perspective and decisions is my values have not changed.
CNN knows that Kamala Harris is going to lose the debate, and they know that she's going to lose the election, right? I'm going to show you some proof of that in this video. But here's where we're at, man. Today is the day that Kamala Harris is going to get dragged by her team, literally kicking and screaming to debate Donald Trump. This is something she does not want to do. And it's kind of funny, man, when you read the crazies on the internet and all their echo chambers, you know, they actually believe that Kamala Harris can win a debate, right? They somehow still believe that she can talk. But I'm telling you, man, there's an interesting thing that's happening over at CNN. They have actually been telling the truth, some truth, about Kamala Harris and who she really is to their unsuspecting viewers. And my theory is, I think they're powerful Democrats and powerful corporatists, you know, the people who actually are in charge of the circus, you know, the same people that were done with Joe Biden and never really wanted Kamala Harris in the first place. They're already looking towards 2028, man. And I think they've come to realize that, you know, the amount of political capital required to even have a chance at a Kamala win is probably just not worth it, right? And I think they also realize, you know, that a Kamala Harris presidency would be so incredibly bad, would be such an abject failure that no one would ever trust them again with anything, like ever again. And I think that's what's going on. And I think we're going to start seeing, you know, more segments just like this. You know, these people, they're actually shocked at what a leftist disaster Kamala Harris really is.
Tonight, Kamala Harris releasing details of her policy positions for the first time on her campaign website. A K-file investigation has uncovered, meantime, a 2019 questionnaire. And in this questionnaire, Harris laid out some much more liberal stances, among them on immigration. So in 2019, in what K-file found, she said she would cut funding to ICE, writing, quote, "Our immigrant detention system is out of control, and I believe we must end the unfair incarceration of thousands of individuals, families, and children. I was one of the first senators after President Trump was elected to advocate for a decrease in funding to ICE." Well, now, of course, she's touting the Biden administration's executive order to crack down on the border. K-File's Andrew Kaczynski joins me now. Andrew, that's pretty incredible on its own when you're talking about what you found here on ICE. What else did you find?
Yeah, and this was a questionnaire that she filled out for the ACLU. And this questionnaire is really an interesting snapshot in time of that 2019 Democratic primary. Kamala Harris was trying to get to the left of Bernie Sanders. She was trying to get to the left of Elizabeth Warren. And you really see that in a lot of these answers. And I want to walk our viewers through a little bit of what she said. Let's just take immigration and look at what she said here. She said on immigration, she made this open-ended pledge to end immigrant detention. She said she supported taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She also said she supported
taxpayer-funded gender transition surgeries for detained migrants. She actually said she supported that.
Did you catch that, man? I mean, Kamala Harris is such a radical. She's so far left that the people who've been directed to protect her and literally help the Democrat Party just reimagine who she is, they're in shock, you know, which really I think should tell you just how intelligent these people really are. I think it should tell you just how much they actually care about their responsibility as journalists. I mean, even as corrupt and one-sided as Google is, I mean, it does not take much Googling to discover that Kamala Harris wants you to pay for everyone's gender surgery. And she's freaking proud of it.
When I was Attorney General, I learned that the California Department of Corrections, which was a client of mine, I didn't get to choose my clients.
Right, a client of the Attorney General.
A client of the Attorney General, of the Office of Attorney General, that they were standing in the way of surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. And when I learned about the case, I worked behind the scenes to not only make sure that that transgender woman got the services she was deserving. So it wasn't only about that case. I made sure that they changed the policy in the state of California so that every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access to the medical care that they desired and need.
Shut up, silly woman.
And I believe it was not only, I know it was historic in California, but I believe actually maybe one of the first, if not the first in the country, where I pushed for that policy in a Department of Corrections.
That was 2019, man. And, no one really knew what an idiot she was, at least not nationally. California, I think they probably knew. But still, this activist felt the need to literally lead her through her explanation of how she, as Attorney General of California, thought it was necessary to spend California taxpayer money to perform elective surgeries on convicted criminals. I mean, it's crazy. This stuff is out there. And here's the thing, man. Once you start digging into Kamala, even just a tiny, tiny little bit, it's almost impossible to find anything moderate or anything redeemable about the woman. But I mean, Aaron Burnett at CNN is completely, totally shocked. I mean, she's shocked at how insane Kamala Harris admits to being. And just to put it into perspective, man, she doesn't want to detain illegals at all. She wants to end ICE as we know it. And she wants to decriminalize illegal entry. But for the rare few that just must be detained for whatever reason, she wants to make sure that their elective sex change operations are paid for by you. And remember, for as much as her policies have allegedly changed, her values have not. Donald Trump tonight doesn't even need to attack her personally, man. He could talk all night about all the crazy stuff that she supports.
Both wrote and answered in the affirmative when she was asked this. Oh. And she said she also supported it for federal prisoners. Now, she also pledged to slash immigration detention by 50%, close all family and private facilities, and decrease funding for ICE, and then end ICE detainers with local law enforcement.
I mean, these are things that, it would be hard to think that you would come up with taxpayer funding, gender transitions for detained migrants. And yet this, as you say, written and verbally. What else, did you find?
I'll try not to stop it so much, man, but just look at this poor lady's body language, man. Listen to her voice. She thinks it's an insane thing to come up with. I mean, gender transitions for migrants, right? And you know what? She's right. I mean, that is pretty crazy. But here's the funny thing about all this, man. If it's insane to provide it for migrants, how is it not insane to provide it for children? And I promise you, man, just based off hearing her tone just right there, I would guess that Aaron Burnett does not support transitioning for children. And honestly, I'd guess that most people actually don't, right? But the world we live in now, if she actually said that on CNN, she'd never work again. I mean, every wacky group would be labeling her a hateful bigot or whatever, and that'd be it. I mean, and how crazy is that, right? It's insane, but it's crazy. It's almost not even close to as crazy as the next one, man. Watch this poor guy's face when he talks about federally legalizing or decriminalizing, which is the same thing, drug use, all drug use.
Well, let's take a look at her answer here on drugs. She got asked about, the question from the ACLU was, since drug use is better addressed as a public health issue through treatment and other programming, will you support the decriminalization at the federal level of all drug possession for personal use? And Harris answers yes. Now, what would that mean? Well, it mean the federal all drug possession. That's not just marijuana, which she alluded to in her answer to this question, but it also would mean
federal level of all drug possession, for
fentanyl, crack,
use.
Cocaine, things like that. Yeah.
Have they?
It's actually pretty hilarious to watch these guys say this stuff out loud, right? But did you see that poor guy's face when he had to say what Kamala Harris believes in out loud? I mean, they cannot possibly believe that her positions have been so radical and so crazy. And this is why I think CNN is trying to get ahead of this stuff. They know that they can't hide it forever, man. And they probably recognize that if she becomes president and they hid this kind of stuff from the public, that'll be the end of it right there. I mean, no more grift, no more control, no more CNN. It'll be done. And honestly, I think this is the same reason that the Obamas and the Clintons allegedly don't think that she can win, right? And I think behind closed doors, I think Democrats are already looking to the midterms, and they're all already looking to 2028, right? Because, I mean, how could you not, right? Kamala Harris is so completely insane. I mean, decriminalizing border crossings, decriminalizing drugs and paying for operations. I mean, and this is the stuff that she was actually willing to write down. I mean, imagine the things that she thought were just too wild to admit. And remember, just remember, her values have not changed.
Responded to you on her changes on these issues.
So we did put this question to the Harris campaign about the entire ACLU questionnaire, and the Harris campaign didn't answer any questions from CNN. Instead, they just provided a statement from an unnamed Harris campaign advisor that just said the vice president's positions have been shaped by 3 years of effective governance as part of the Biden-Harris administration. Now, they declined to CNN to elaborate on what those positions were. And then they also provided this statement, which they attributed to a spokesperson saying, as president, she will take that same pragmatic approach, focusing on common sense solutions for the sake of progress. So where does she stand on this, all this questionnaire today? We don't know, and they won't say.
It's pretty incredible stuff. And thank you very much, Andrew K-File, for this reporting.
It's pretty incredible stuff, she says. I mean, honestly, can you imagine what that conversation would have been like if there had been no cameras there? And can you imagine that the Harris campaign actually believes that Americans are this stupid? I mean, Kamala, she's on the record supporting literally every single insanely radical thing that is possible to support, right? And they think that some statement from an unnamed, unaccountable, faceless campaign employee saying that, she's pragmatic and she did such a great job over the last 3 years that she somehow grew a normal, moderate thinking brain, right? They think that's going to work. I mean, they think that some random statement can unwind a literal lifetime of complete lunacy. I mean, only completely stupid people don't know the truth by now. And the truth is exactly what Bernie said.
Do you think that she is abandoning her progressive ideals?
No, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's trying to be pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election. My own view is slightly different. I think that in America today, there are a lot of people, rural people, working class people, who no longer believe that the United States Congress and government represents their interests, too dominated by big money.
Yeah. Kamala Harris's values have not changed. And she, I promise you, she is exactly who Bernie Sanders thinks she is. And she thinks that she can hide those values from you, right? And say anything that she needs to say in order to win the presidency. And honestly, man, I cannot possibly imagine that there's enough people that are dumb enough to fall for that. There cannot be enough dumb people to allow that to happen. And tonight should be interesting, man. If Donald Trump can stick to policy and just pepper a few of these things in there, doesn't even have to get to all of them, just one or two, just get her on the record again, explaining why she no longer wants to invite illegals, decriminalize drugs, and pay for everybody's elective operations. And I cannot possibly imagine that she survives that. Her whole I've made this issue very clear, like she did with Dana Bash, that's not going to work, man, because the truth is she has made this stuff very clear. She's made it very, very clear. But that's all I've got, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.